Good morning to meteorologist Chita Craft. We are coming in because we have the latest information from the National Hurricane Center. In fact, it is just before 10 o'clock. I'm like, what is the official time? Okay, it's 9:57, and this came out maybe about 5 minutes ago from the National Hurricane Center. The latest track has Ida moving over Cuba. As it moves back into the Gulf of Mexico, we are expecting this to be a Cat 1 hurricane, and then quickly now gaining intensity and strength. Notice by early Sunday to a major status. The track this morning had just before landfall becoming a major hurricane. Now, with this track and the updates that we are seeing, I would raise a couple concerns here. As it sits in the open waters in the Gulf with a little more time, watch for potential strengthening. It is not out of the question that we could have a Cat 4 just before landfall. So either way, it's going to be a major hurricane. We're setting up with really extreme conditions right along the coastline of Louisiana, and you can see that's why they're already under that hurricane watch. Also, though, a big change with the latest track is how quickly now Ida is expected to weaken. So it's going to blast in and then blast out. So it's expected to then weaken back to a tropical storm. This morning, if you were watching the track, the 4 a.m. update or the 7 a.m. update was it still had it as a Category 2 hurricane over about a 12-hour period. So again, it's strengthening earlier by early Sunday morning as now a major hurricane, and then after making landfall, it weakens pretty quickly down to a tropical storm. I'll put this into motion for you so you can see this a little bit closer. Where as far as the cone of uncertainty, the track, that hasn't really changed a whole lot. Okay, we're still looking all areas east of the Texas-Louisiana border, and this pretty much now takes you through the entire state of Louisiana, and that puts us completely out of the cone of uncertainty. That puts us out of direct landfall. Any impacts here or along the Texas coastline will mainly be rip currents or elevated surf, elevated seas, and especially during high tide, we'll probably watch some of those waves really pick up, and we'll be able to pick those up. But otherwise, the main difference between the track that we're getting now and the one that you saw previously was it becomes a major hurricane, a Cat 3, earlier than what we originally thought. Originally, we were expecting this to happen by the afternoon, just before landfall on Sunday, and now it looks like it's going to happen a little bit earlier. We'll also have to watch the timing. That will also change. You know, right now it's got some land interaction. I'm going to show you the latest satellite imagery, but I wanted you to see the latest track from the National Hurricane Center. Again, the cone of uncertainty, that hasn't really changed a whole lot. It's mainly the intensity that was upgraded a little bit earlier. To kind of put things also in perspective, I know a lot of you watching right now either got a push alert and that's where you're watching from Houston, but maybe you have some friends, family, you want to see some of the expected rainfall totals. So notice here locally, we could be looking at a half to an inch and a half of rain today through Monday evening. I'm taking our future track out to a 7 o'clock Monday night, but notice here, when you see some of these yellow, orange, and even a tinge of those brighter colors, that's potentially 5 to 10 inches plus rain. Up to about 15 could be expected in these areas. So that's the dramatic difference from what we're going to anticipate here locally, and then compared to what we're expecting not only along the coast of Louisiana. Some of this extends even through portions of the panhandle of Florida. The latest satellite imagery, we are starting to get some land interaction with Cuba. You can start to see some of those outer bands working. That's going to limit strengthening and that intensification really quickly with the land interaction. Once it moves into the open waters, into the Gulf, forget about it. That's when it's going to strengthen really, really quickly. Right now, we have max sustained winds at 65 miles per hour. We will continue to monitor, of course, if the latest tracks come out, and they're expecting this to upgrade anytime soon. I don't think it's going to happen probably through the afternoon. Not out of the question, maybe tonight or extremely early tomorrow morning. Northwest movement around 15 miles per hour. That's pretty much on track with what the original forecast had. So not much has changed in that perspective. We have seen throughout the morning some strengthening. About 3 o'clock this morning, max sustained winds were at 45 miles per hour. Then they climbed to about 60. Now we're up to about 65. But all in all, that's been about the same. And we're staying below hurricane strength right now. Yeah, Addison.
Woo, here we go. We got this.
Wait a minute, where's my cell phone, Bob?
That's all right. It's all good. Oh, good.
Okay.
So just looking at the latest information, I was working on a separate system right here in the Weather Center, starting to notice that it's starting to become a little more energetic, this system right here. And you can certainly see that convection starting to blossom in nicely, especially around that center of circulation right there. And we've actually seen those cloud tops getting nice and tall. So yeah, Ida is definitely getting a little more robust, but once it goes over Cuba, Chita, definitely all is fair game right there in the open waters of the Atlantic Ocean.
I'll show you the track one more time just because we haven't seen a whole lot of change as far as landfall placement and I would say the overall picture of the track. But I was a little surprised to see how early we're expecting this to intensify. You know, I was surprised, but then not. We were talking just before we went on live how warm the waters are and how there's really low wind shear all across the area. So there's not much to limit kind of that rapid intensification. So we were expecting that a little bit, but we'll see. I don't know. Potential of Cat 4.
That's not the question. And once we get towards 131 miles per hour, now we're getting towards Category 4 status. And this is, not, like you said, gotten beefed up from the past several runs. 120 miles per hour. Going over these waters right there, I wouldn't be surprised if it jumps up 125, even 130. But like you said, thankfully, when it makes its landfall, it will weaken drastically. But I'm concerned as well when it starts to make that landfall and weaken. Now we have all that heavy rain coming on down, and those tropical storm force winds start to expand across the area. So there may be more impacts across the lower Mississippi River Valley area.
And you can see that, how far, you know, now our tropical storm watches are starting to extend. I don't know about you. Okay, I'm going to show the 7-day really quick, and then we're going to talk about some, or do you want to bring in the historical data first?
Unfortunately, the data was real sluggish. I tried, the system was not working with me, but we were talking about earlier on before the show began that we're going to be seeing potential landfall with Ida around the same time as we saw Katrina back in 2005.
So 2005 on the 29th, Katrina made landfall. So it's the 16th anniversary this year of Katrina. We're expecting it to make, now Katrina hit early in the morning on the 29th, but, and this will be more late afternoon or early evening right now with the track. But you know, it's just interesting to think about. It's on the anniversary and it's going to be over a generalized similar location. I mean, this probably will kind of wobble back and forth. So we'll see exact landfall come, you know, Sunday evening, but it's really interesting to think about that. That was the last major hurricane to hit close to New Orleans was Katrina 16 years ago, and we're looking at landfall on the exact same day. I know, it's just eerie.
It's very
eerie. Just eerie. You know, there's no comparison there. You know, every storm is their own, you know, kind of beast, but it just is an unsettling feeling to think on the same day that we're going to be dealing with.
I know, it's very unfortunate. I hope the city of New Orleans has bounced back since Katrina. And Jason up in the control room, if we can switch to Weather 2 briefly. Just want to dive in, just showing you why. We're talking about the wind shear and the water temperatures, how we have an upper area of low pressure sitting over the Yucatan Peninsula, upper area of high pressure over there towards the Bahamas, both helping to pull up Ida going in towards the Gulf of Mexico. And then as we move forward in time, the wind shear is supposed to become nice and relaxed, meaning we're allowing that system to breathe and let it strengthen and develop clearly without any issues or concerns. And going over those very warm waters, that's where we could really see some explosive development come on in from Ida.
And exactly what your graphic is showing, Addison, I think this is interesting for anybody watching right now. It is doing that little wobble back and forth, so you can see how those upper level currents that you're talking about, they're both kind of trying to take a hold of this, and that's why, you know, days ago, we really didn't know the forecast track. That's why models were so split. They didn't know which would pull harder, but eventually the high winds.
The high pressure typically does win it out. The low pressure tries, and it tries to yank it westward, but these systems naturally want to go up towards the north and east due to the Coriolis force, want to turn towards the north and east. So this is the natural progression to going like this. It's not to go like that, and so far that is not the case.
Yeah, we're good. We'll go ahead and erase that.
Yeah, no, that's not happening right there.
And then last look at this graphic. When you look at the wind direction, really because Ida is expected to go well to our east, we're actually going to welcome in a little bit of a north wind come Sunday and Monday, and our rain chances have actually lowered because all that energy is going to take it well to the east. So again, central to eastern Louisiana, potential landfall Sunday evening, and that would leave us maybe seeing an isolated downpour too, but that's basically it.
That's about it. Some good news right there. The upper level winds become nice and relaxed. We get that drier flow coming on in, trying to wrap in towards our center of circulation, but it'll struggle to do so at first. But for Houston's purposes, that drier air means a lack of precipitation, breezy conditions because we have a big tropical system nearby, and definitely a lot of beach concerns, riptide concerns, yep. Some low-lying areas we see a little bit of a surge come on in, maybe about 1 to 3 feet or so. But definitely Houston, you're on the clean side of the system. We're not dealing with the big ramifications if we were on the dirty side. That's going to be the northeast side of the system, which unfortunately goes right over southeast Louisiana and New Orleans.
I know, this is tough to see. You know, I'm glad you're putting this into future motion though, so you can see Sunday heading into the early morning hours, how we're still looking at a Cat 2, but this would strengthen so quickly.
Very quickly.
You know, by Sunday afternoon or evening. So
I wouldn't be surprised if we go from Saturday night, go to bed Saturday night, it's a Category 2, wake up Sunday morning, it's now on the verge of a Category 4. I would not be surprised by that, because look right here, we have this big pattern right there, a big upper level high pressure sitting up aloft, allowing that system to freely vent. There's barely little wind shear at all going on underneath that high pressure system up aloft. So that's a very conducive environment for seeing some explosive development. And also, when we talk about the temperatures of the Gulf of Mexico, right, the sea surface temperatures, you can see that we have some really warm water as you go in towards the central to northwestern corner of the Gulf, and right over the mouth of the Mississippi, down towards the Texas border, that little darker purple highlighted area, that's where temperatures are around 88 to 91 degrees, and systems, like tropical systems like this, love 80+ degree temperatures.
That's their fuel. That's right. Get the engine going. Well, we can see that we're going to have to watch closely for them, and the exact location, if you have family or friends that, you know, are in this portion of Louisiana and you're trying to figure out, should they evacuate, should they stay? I've been telling some of my friends that have family that go to Tulane, you know, they're in these areas. Listen to your local authorities.
Yes,
they are going to give you the best advice as far as what they should do, but they should already have their plans in place. That's the point. We have a pretty good handle that this is the area that we're going to see a direct landfall at this point of a Cat 3 or a Cat 4. And no matter if the track changes just a little bit here, this is basically the overall area. So you might as well start to have your plan in place and listen to your local authorities on what you should do.
Absolutely, especially if you're in southeast Louisiana, up in towards the New Orleans areas, especially. I'm sure local officials are giving briefings constantly throughout the day today and for tomorrow. But if you're thinking about traveling that way, you got some plans in New Orleans or Louisiana, definitely would rethink that, cancel any flights as well, because that's probably not going to happen, any of those events going on across that area. And also, one real quick dive into Chita, the chance for seeing some rough wind and wave activity. You can see right there as you make your way into Sunday morning, we'll really see some high swells coming on in.
Oh yeah.
Up across the mouth of the Mississippi and going in towards portions of Alabama, Mississippi, the Florida Panhandle. Houston will have a little bit of some rough wave activity, maybe seeing a touch of some higher waves, maybe about 1 to 3, 2 to 4 feet on average, but the big time swells right there. That little bullseye right there, orange, that's 30 to 35 feet. So increased swell, and on top of the forward motion of the storm system, which could be about 15 miles per hour or so, you're now increasing that storm surge potential, especially across in that right front quadrant, the dirty side of the storm.
Well, you know, I am as thankful as I am that this forecast has played out the way it is. It is tough to see this picture play out for southeast Louisiana. But I do want to show, especially, I know a lot of you are watching this from Houston and you're seeing this, they are expecting a direct impact. If we can't switch back to weather one, I wanted to give you a general idea though. Us going into Sunday into Monday, that's the time frame that we would be looking at landfall. Again, we're talking about a northeast wind, a slight rain chance, but really not much of anything at all. And really, if anything, calmer conditions, less humidity. I hate to say it, you know, we're really on the upside of this. So
yeah, for Houston's purposes, we are definitely dodging a bullet right here, so to speak, and we're going to be on the drier, hotter side of things with that northwesterly breeze coming down. A little bit less humidity coming on in for us here, but definitely all eyes will be in the city of New Orleans as we're approaching, unfortunately, that anniversary date of Katrina right there.
And
last bit coming on in.
Yeah, the last little bit of the track, I don't know. Now a tropical storm. It is expected to strengthen to a Category 3 just before landfall. And but you can see, I just wanted the last image for you guys that it is, you know, east of the Texas-Louisiana border, and at this point, you know, we have a pretty good handle that this will be the area that it makes landfall, but this track may just shift back and forth. So we don't know the exact area, but that'll be the overall general idea. Oh, and let's take our viewer questions. That's right, Facebook Live. Now, if you opened this stream on your phone and it went to our app, you're not able to ask your questions there, but you can if you go to Facebook. So if you can, open your Facebook app, and if you have any questions, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So we have El Salceda is asking, they just joined. What are the chances of it changing track?
A complete shift. I mean, I think at this point, obviously we'll have to get it off of Cuba. So let the land interaction. But as far as the track and the trajectory at this point, we've seen some consistency over the past 3 days.
Yeah.
So the plan in place looks to be now. If you're talking about just a little wobble back and forth, of course that's possible.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely possible.
But if you're talking about a complete shift, looking at Texas, I don't foresee that happening.
That's incredibly unlikely. We'll be seeing this cone shift westward, especially westward drastically. So Houston, for the most part, we're in the clear. Yeah. We're still just keeping our eyes on things like you said, Chita. Once it gets off of Cuba and moves into the Gulf, we'll have a much better idea of where the system will go. But like we always say, we never focus just on the actual line of the forecast track. Focus on the cone, because there's equal chance you can see a system drift towards that right side, as well as drift towards the left side, which the left side does include the Lake Charles area. They do not need any more major hits.
Right.
And the right side does include going in towards the Mississippi area, going towards Biloxi, Gulfport, and right on those shallow waters, they don't need a major landfall as well. Well, no one needs a major landfall, but they don't need it over there.
There's a lot of questions, again, coming in with people who just joined about Galveston area, and just what they can expect.
Galveston, we were talking about this. In fact, I have a live shot right now, and I think we'll see if it still shows some of these higher elevated surf. Rip currents will be an issue. Here it is. But as far as anything else, really, no, not anything else. I think that on a Sunday morning and Monday morning, especially during high tide, you may start to see some of the waves in the water drift well over. But besides that would be about it. I think you're going to get some big waves, and that really will be our impacts. I mean, they're really minimal impacts at that. In fact, because Ida is going well to our east, our rain chances are actually lower. So the impacts for Galveston are minimal, and if anything now they've even dropped from what we kind of previously left right in the middle before we really had an official track.
Yeah, absolutely the case. And as we see the forecast improving for us here in Houston, the Galveston area, people may be enticed. It's the weekend, going out towards the beaches, going to go relax, going to soak up some sun. But if you're going to go in those waters, make sure you do swim where the lifeguard is around, because the ocean will still be a little on the choppy side. The rip current concerns, like you said, will be going high. And we'll be able to see this camera come Saturday morning, even Sunday morning as well. You'll see very much like periodic waves come like sloshing in. I remember David Paul talking about how it's like a washing machine. You'll be seeing just wave after wave after wave slowly ripple on in. So if you're not a really experienced swimmer, you may be thinking like, oh yeah, I can go dive on in and play in there, but definitely want to make sure you do so with caution.
But as far as rain or storm surge, no, we're not. There won't be any impacts like that. It's just going to be too far to our east at this point.
Some people are still very cautious.
Of course.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
They just want to know this could change, and you did already go over that, but they're just.
I know. You know what? It is really hard, and it is concerning, and especially we have Harvey at one top of mind, Laura even from last year, with so many friends and family just to our east. So I understand this is top of mind, and you don't know. You can have a little bit of anxiety about that if something is going to change. At this point, we have seen consistency since Tuesday as far as our model runs being fairly unanimous, and that was even before we actually had a tropical system that formed. Yesterday, actually at this time, when it did develop into a tropical depression, the track was in the same line as the model guidance. So it would probably be unlikely that anything major were to change, but I understand. And with that being said, it is hurricane season, so it's not a bad idea to have your plan in place, to have your kit ready to go. We're going to continue to see, hurricane season peaks September the 10th.
Yeah.
So Labor Day is always hot around here as far as wave interaction, storm interaction, but really we have several weeks of this that we're going to continue to see these waves develop, and it's a great idea. This was kind of like our idea. What would you do? Do you have your kit in place? And it's a good idea to rethink what your family protocol is.
Oh, sure.
Do you have everything prepared, because you don't know the next storm could turn this direction. However, this one is looking unlikely.
Yes, absolutely. Thankfully, we are going to be seeing ourselves mainly out of the clear of dealing with this system right there. But nonetheless, like Chita was saying, it's never a bad idea to get your hurricane plan just to be checked out, make sure everything's okay, good to go. I was just doing some shopping yesterday after work, and I picked up some water just because I needed some, but there was definitely a lot of water to go around. But if we saw a system moving on in this way, I'd be seeing those shelves cleared on out, because everyone's doing a mass dash panic to go grab stuff. But don't wait then. Just, you know, gradually pick up a case here, a case there, some batteries, things that won't expire.
Sure. Oh, and you know, okay. Yes.
No, go ahead.
We're good. Okay. Well, we have so many questions. Please send them our way. We would love to help you in any way. I mean, at this point, we are feeling pretty confident that this is going to stay east of the Texas-Louisiana border at this point. Again, end of cone. Major hurricane expected towards the southeast portion of Louisiana Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, and Addison will be here all throughout the day. He'll be on at 4, and then our chief meteorologist David Paul will be in tonight. You guys will tag team later today.
Yeah, we'll be diving into all the latest information coming on in. Next full update comes on at 4 o'clock from the National Hurricane Center. Partial update comes around 1 o'clock, so we'll have an idea about the speed as well as the strength, but we'll get the full data package at 4 o'clock, and another full package comes on at 10 o'clock. So if you're in the Houston area, make sure you watch the 10 o'clock news coming on in here at Channel 11.
I agree. Well, stay safe, everyone, and just make sure if you have any friends or families, you tell them to listen to their local authorities. They'll know best there. All right, take care.